Welcome everyone to our second session of 2025, our January event for Town Hall. Today we're going to be running through looking at the roadmap and trying to make sure we get it right for this year. We want it to be a big year, want to try and be aware of what everybody's focused on and priorities and get it right. I think I said in the session this morning that I'm personally a little disappointed with how we managed the roadmap in recent times. It was the tool kind of made everything stagnate, and we didn't really know how to identify what was old and voted for or actually relevant still and important. And I think we got the noise or the mess was holding us back. So we've switched out the platform that we use. All of the items are the same, and really pretty much the data has come across as is. So we've just got some more tools now to kind of help make the management of it both easier for you guys. You can give us more feedback in some better ways, and then we can analyze that better and make sure we get the priorities right. So the next month, let's say, is probably going to be a little bit harder than normal, where we've got to kind of sift through. But we really need your help to get it right. So the best thing you can do is just I'll run through how it works. But when you get some time, or if you think of something that you need or want to check on, search for it and follow the steps to kind of vote and help us know what's important. So yeah, I'll run you through the main improvements or changes or things that you can use, and then feel free to either dive into some actual tasks and items, or just talk more about how we manage it and get the most from it. Cool. I will share my screen, and we'll have a look at it from the front end first, I think, and then I'll show you how it affects us, because there's some really nice tools that we have available now. So looking at it from how you guys would see it, if you haven't already been there, it's on feedback.siteglide.com. The old one is roadmap.siteglide.com. So we will take the roadmap one down eventually, or redirect it or whatever. But this is outdated now. It's just there for reference should you need it. But pretty much, well, everything should be in the new version and more, because we're now getting people submitting things and suggesting things and commenting and that kind of stuff. So definitely check out feedback.siteglide.com. It's linked from the buttons in admin. So the feedback button here, it'll do single sign-on to make sure that you're connected properly. And then you've got this button here as well as a way to give feedback. Something that's quite nice with this is if you do bug, for example, you can take a screenshot and create everything we need all in one place. We don't want to take away from you guys doing Discord if you'd rather for bugs or issues, and same with tickets and live chat, because we want that kind of more immediate response. But I think as we go, it will be better to submit it as a real bug, because then we can handle priority, other people can comment, and what you can always do is copy the URL of the item and stick it in Discord and discuss it. So, well, as I say, that's kind of something that we'll all evolve and sort of learn as we use it and as we sort of find the best ways of getting the most out of it. But yeah, feel free to give it a spin and add some requests. So just going back again, yeah, you can create a new item here, or you can do the one from admin. And there'll soon be a couple of other ways as well. Even if you type something in Discord straight away and just start talking, we can turn that into an item quite quickly. So we've got some good integration with Discord. But one of the most important things I'd like to show you is on the feedback section. You can just obviously you can look through like trending, you can filter, you can search, but this is kind of where you see everything that's been requested. And then there's different statuses. So open means that it's been submitted, but in review would mean that it's I might change the name of that, I haven't decided yet, but would mean that it's gone into the backlog. So when something's first created, it doesn't populate on the roadmap at all. It just stays within feedback, and you guys can and we'll review it and discuss it with like, so that we've put it as a backlog item, and hopefully then as a planned item that we'll be putting a date on. So yes, sifting through these at some point, or at least searching when you're thinking of something, is a great place to start and try and make sure that you are voting on the most important things. So let's say, as an example, it, let's pick let's pick this one. Let's say this is really important to you. We've actually put a date on this because it's in planned. It doesn't matter whether it was or not, but if it's really important to you, it would be really good to answer these questions. Actually, even if it's not important, let us know. So there's 3 questions that you can answer, and that just is another way to really help us rather than just having a vote. Like, a vote doesn't always tell us a lot, especially over time. So please let us know what's important, and answer those questions. Obviously, you've got comments as usual, but this new feature I think is going to be really powerful. Let me quickly show you what that does at the back end, and I think that will give you a better idea of why it's so important. So if I jump into the back end and then if we go to the roadmap quickly, I'll go to one that I know, Devon, you and I have been talking about. So custom menus, that's the ability to customize the portal to hide things and show things. It's going to be a really, really powerful feature that I know people are keen on. But Devon, I know we discussed, you've got a kind of a need for it. So you filled in this, those 3 questions. And what that does is it tells us very visually, especially if a lot of people do it, whether it's actually important and why is it important and how soon do you need it and how beneficial is it going to be. What that allows us to then do is we use the prioritization values here for value and effort, so we can decide how valuable it is based on your feedback, and then we can look at the effort versus other tasks. And with that information, we've then got a feature here called prioritize, and that helps us see a nice little graphic of what to focus on, really. Like a quick win, easy win is the best kind of ones, because high value, low effort. Obviously, there's some bigger ones that we definitely want to do, like the rebuild of the API. Well worth the extra effort. I think this top quadrant is probably going to be the things that are going to make the real difference to the platform over time. They're going to be the things that make it stand out. Whereas these are the things that hopefully are going to give you what you need right now. The sort of big, the smaller maybe, but important improvements, incremental improvements, as we have down here. Just these are the more valuable ones, effectively. And hopefully we shouldn't have too many that we have to avoid, but it's helpful to know what maybe isn't quite worth doing. Yeah, so if you fill out these, we will end up with a much bigger view of how it all fits together. And to be honest, I think we're going to really try and focus on the ones that people have answered the questions on. So if you know that there's one that you really want to see, please go through and do that. Like I say, with which, whether it's positive or negative, let us know what you think. I've kind of run through it pretty quickly there, but I think that summarizes it. A couple of other bits before I ask for any questions. You'll notice there's a few different things. So we've got status, so that's obviously where it is in the Kanban. Backlog, planned, in progress, or done. Board, we're testing this out, and I think it is quite a nice way to have like separate big features versus things like improvements to an existing feature, bugs, or something completely separate, marketplace driven. So it could be an integration, it could be for the automations feature that we've got, that you want a new integration added there, or it could be a third-party module that somebody wants on the marketplace. And actually, if you're interested in making modules, you might want to check out the marketplace items to see if it's worth building. Yes, there's the board types. Then we have, let me go back to one that was useful, actually. Then we have ETA. So we're going to really try, well, we will be putting a date on everything that is in next up or in progress. So our flow is going to be, it comes in, it comes in as open, we review it, and we hopefully put it in the backlog, because it's something that is a genuine request. We've understood all the information. We don't need to add anything to it. And it goes into the backlog as something we want to do at some point. Based on the votes and the feedback, hopefully, well, certain items will then go into next up, which is the planned group. at that point, that's us mapping out the next, whether it's mapping out the next quarter or the next week. It'll be somewhere around those kind of timescales where we can go, right, we're going to get this one done pretty quickly. Whereas some of these other ones that are in date order, we know we need to do them pretty soon. They're on the finite list of next up, which might be, yeah, 13, 20, that kind of number. But realistically, it's going to be next quarter. And we'll adjust those dates as we kind of get closer to working on them. Here you'll see sort of very exact dates for what we're working on at the moment. Yeah, so I think that kind of summarizes most of the changes and how to use it and how it affects us. Any immediate feedback or anything you think I've missed?
I like the I like the answering of the questions to give more depth to it. I can go back through and look at what's here, and even if it's something that we don't think we'd use, you probably want to hear that. Like a not voting for an item isn't always as helpful for you, I guess, because a not vote
Exactly.
doesn't really tell you much. Yeah, so I can definitely go through and do that.
You
And
target like
and
the
we
little
can
range of numbers that you can, or the range, like there was a important, yeah, not important, nice. I like that too, because usually
Yeah,
it's
that's
either
cool.
a yay or nay.
yeah,
And it's good to
yeah,
kind of know that
exactly.
something is nice to have or very important or then i.e. essential. So I like that too.
And it's three questions which are really like quite important for us because it's not just like you might need it right now, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's the most important thing. So I think sort of fairly helpful answers on
Yeah.
this mean that we will do it
Yeah.
maybe now, even though we realize it's not the most important. But it'll just
Right.
help us compare things better, I think, and get a better sense of why why people think the way they
Yeah.
do. Yeah, cool. I think that's probably the biggest feature for us that's going to make a real difference. One thing I didn't show you actually is another feature called surveys. So we'll be able to run like very different types of surveys, but a really nice one is it can dynamically pull in, say, three. We can pick three items and you can vote out of those three. So we might say, yeah, like out of these three, which one do you want us to do next? Because we're not completely sure which direction to go in. So,
Oh, yeah. hmm
so that could be quite nice, I
like
think.
you're trying to decide, like you're trying to fill your next up queue, and you're trying to decide like what to put in there from your 69 backlog items. Yeah.
Exactly that. Yeah. Or there's been a lot of good discussion on two things, but we're just not quite sure like which way to go, and we just want a bit more impact input.
Yeah, that's
Sorry.
cool.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is this tool called, Luke?
It's called feature base. I think
Uh,
it says it when you go to the front end one. Yeah, down powered by feature base. Very impressed by it, and the support from the team is incredible as well. Very impressed with by them as a company.
cool.
Definitely recommended if you need this kind of thing. Um,
It was pretty detailed.
yeah, yeah, pretty comprehensive. There's actually quite a bit
And the
more to it
visual
that we
graphic thing is kind of fun.
yeah, that's pretty useful for us, I think. Also got a good inbox of what's happened so we can keep on top of it. There
hmm
might be some other features that we end up using as well, like they're going to have a like a all-in-one sort of chat stroke submitting issues, which we might move to make sure that there's one combined place to discuss things because it would be quite handy for us for somebody to be able to say, I've got this issue with X, and us be able to turn a live chat into an actual task. So there's lots in here. There's a help center even, which we haven't even looked at. One thing I do want to be using, one new feature will be the change log. So there's a really nice way of showing and emailing based on features being released. So this year, not only do we want to actually do the right things and do more things, we want to shout about it. We want to let you guys know and make sure everybody's aware, and doing things like a proper digital change log I
On
think
that
will help.
change log, is that something that is emailed to us, or like when we log into the site, do we see a notification or anything
I
for it?
believe I haven't used it fully yet, but it can, they're subscribers, so you can subscribe to
Okay,
receiving
good.
the change log, and
That's
it'll email. But
that's it. That would answer the question.
also
Yeah.
it's if I just quickly, I can't do it quickly, but also it will appear here as well as a menu item, so you'll be
Yeah.
able to view the change log alongside the roadmap.
Yeah, I was just looking for a way to subscribe. So, sometimes if you see something that was, implemented after people voted on it or whatever, and then it's kind of nice to get a notice. This is ready now.
Exactly. I have seen it somewhere, but there will be a form to make sure you're
Mhm.
subscribed. But yeah,
Okay, cool.
yeah, good. And any other feedback, do you think? I mean, I think a lot of it is self-explanatory and very similar to before, but we've just got some ways that I think it'll make a real difference now to make sure that it stays live and it stays accurate and collaborative.
No, it's great. It's a good improvement. The change log piece is important. I mean, yeah, obviously, I remember there have been many eras of this, right? Like, just
They have.
along the way. And I can remember release notes. I guess it was like release notes. I guess that's still happening.
So
Yeah.
that's something we want to decide on as well. But at the moment, release notes all go into docs, and I
Hmm.
think it will make a lot more sense to do a proper, nice change log with email subscribing as well. So whether we still keep a bit more of a boring change log here is up for discussion. But yeah, we'll try and make the change log way more, engaging and interactive.
I mean, you could consider just this is an idea, but like when you log into Siteglide, the dashboard, maybe it could be embedded in there because that's sort of like unused
That
real estate a little bit.
that's kind of
Definitely.
where I'm envisioning it. I mean, I also use Webflow for my smaller projects, and they're always putting a little
Every
alert up saying,
single time you log into Webflow, it's
yeah,
like
pretty
in your
much. It's
face. There's
annoying,
like
but
a pop-up
yeah,
widget. Yeah.
yeah. But I
So
mean, it's nice. It's just nice because sometimes, you might not be aware that somebody's posted a new feature request,
Yep.
and all of a sudden you see this notification saying, we've implemented this now, and you're like, oh, cool. I've never thought of that, or maybe I did think about it, and then you start investigating and realize that it's pretty handy to have. So it's just kind of a nice, simple
Hmm.
thing. I would think it could be fairly automated with this. This looks like a really nice platform.
yeah, yeah,
So,
they've got a couple of little widgets that we can implement really easily, or we can do our own. But this is the sort of modal pop-up route, and you've also got the kind of widget route that can just appear as well. So a bit like we have with this feedback button, we can essentially
Hmm.
embed more of their tools without us even doing any dev work. Eventually, I think we'll get to this kind of all-in-one widget where you kind of have everything all in, including live chat, all in one place. But yeah, we've got quite a few options at least.
cool.
Yeah, we're definitely keen
Cool.
to pull it all together more, make sure that everybody's in the loop with what's going on, and that the work we're doing is the most valuable work.
Luke,
Yeah,
uh, I'm gonna put you on the spot and see if I hope this doesn't make you uncomfortable. It probably won't.
go
But
for it.
there's like the fast track kind of like thing in Site Gurus where you can invest in where you can add resources to fast tracking something. So I
Yeah,
was just how does that fit into this whole thing? Yeah.
it's a good question. it's a funny one to like. We want to try and make sure we get the roadmap right so that you don't have to do that. But at the same time, there might always be things where you've got a niche request that just, it's going to be hard for that to, if other people aren't voting on it, you need it done. That's
Yeah.
essentially a paid service. It's not really even fast track. It's more like a paid service. Where I don't like it, where it's a little bit of a gray area, is probably an example of the custom menus one, where
Mhm.
it's incredibly valuable. We want to do it. It won't be far away. Should someone pay to have that by a certain date? We'll avoid that where possible, and yeah, we'll try and just make sure that we're using the voting and the feedback to
Mhm.
prioritize things. But I guess yes, technically, if you said, look, this is going to save me money than having to do something a certain way, I'm willing to. Then we need to be careful, because we need to make sure that we're not replacing community-based voting with paid incentive. We don't want to replace that. It would
Yeah.
be a percentage, and it would also be services team that need to be able to jump into that and it not have any impact on the roadmap. So I'm still not fully like, it's not a thing we do a lot. It's just something we've mentioned so that there's in the right use case, it's available, and a
So
great
it's like,
tool
yeah,
for
you could just
it
say
to
like it's a
use.
case by
Yeah,
case thing. You just like if you, yeah. I mean, I think I've only asked for one thing to, I think we've only done one thing like that before, and it was much smaller than the admin's menus. I think the admin menu is sort of like in its own, that's like a global system,
exactly.
bigger thing, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I
so
mean,
got it.
you've asked for
Just
that,
case by
and
case.
we're going to do that one because that's the right thing to do. It's such a powerful feature. It shouldn't be a
Yeah.
fast track item, so it's not.
Yeah, yeah, got it.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely needs a bit of management there. Like we want Site Gurus to be a really useful, available tool to everybody, and we want to make sure everybody knows about it. But we definitely don't want to force it on anybody, and I never want you to feel like, hang on a minute, I've had to go this route because, yeah, for the wrong reasons, I guess.
Right.
Good. Yeah, any other feedback or questions? I mean, feel free to jump into a specific item if anybody wants to. You might have one that's not. One other thing to say is, as I mentioned at the beginning, that is by no means up to date in terms of how we want the roadmap to look. We have not been through it fully yet, and you guys haven't had a chance to. So if you know that there's something that just isn't in planned or backlog or isn't where you think it should be, do the questions, make sure you've upvoted, and even put a comment on or discuss it in Discord, because you could very well find it's something that everybody thinks is top 10, and we're in a bit of a, I'm not going to say meth, but it's not as we've not been through the backlog and all the items well enough yet as a community, I don't think, to know that it's right. So please do like highlight any that you think are quite important. And then I think we'll get a much clearer roadmap for the year. Something actually I mentioned this morning because of a chat with you, Devon, about trying to also balance big versus small work, a bit like the feature versus the improvement thing, and kind of make sure it's clear that we always have capacity for both. What we mustn't have is that a big feature comes along and completely stops any of the quick wins happening. So we need to make sure we've got a amount of time each month dedicated to quick wins and typical core roadmap improvements, versus any big ticket items that we're looking at to improve the platform as a whole. I can't say it's always going to be the same set percentage, but there's two different sort of tracks there, different people working on different things, and making sure that we really want to see that we're shipping some really useful features, and we want that change log to show some valuable improvements every month. I think last year that wasn't quite, it wasn't how I wanted it to be, really. It was, we had some really big things, as we explained. We had to do the underlying API changes, which are huge. That will be fully released in the next few weeks. We've had to, again, prioritize a few other bits, but that one's huge. And we also had to do some other, well, we did automation integrations, so the rollout piece, being able to connect to other tools, which it was just a very timely opportunity with the API to do that. So while we hope to have some big ticket items this year that make a real difference, they need to be alongside the core improvements. And we really took on board the feedback from the December town hall, I think it was, where, yeah, I don't know who it was. Nick maybe rightly said, look, there's some things on there that have been there for a while. You know, when are they getting done? Like, we have no idea, and we want that to be, we want the ETAs to be accurate based on things going through the process and the votes and the feedback, making sure that while it might not be the feature that you really want to be top, at least you can see that the community has sort of spoken, and it's all being done in the sort of correct order, I guess.
Cool. Luke, can you talk about the API updates? Like, try and like explain that to us, because I think it's referenced regularly also, sometimes in terms of like how it would affect Zapier connections and stuff, but like,
Yeah.
what is that project?
It's frustrating because it's so big that I keep talking about it and we can't quite show you yet. We're so close. We basically took the API, which was for Zapier, and for any kind of API use, it would all channel through our main API, which the admin runs off, everything runs off, which has in times caused admin downtime isn't quite the right word, but instability, let's say, which it doesn't make sense to have everything channeled through this one API. So going forwards, we've fully rebuilt it and overhauled it. The API will now run off your site. So each site will have its own API endpoints that you can use. You can actually expand and add to as well. You'll be able to like customize the API per site. And Zapier and Rollout and all the other integrations will run off that API as well. So we've still got a little bit more work to do on checking, sort of QCing the endpoints so that they match the existing. We've got docs to do. We've then got to go to Zapier and offer and this is where we'll probably want your input on anybody that uses Zapier, the migration process, but there will probably need to be a new version of the Siteglide Zapier integration, and you would then need to switch over. We're going to make it sort of like for like in terms of the field mapping and everything, but yeah, we'll need to work with you to make sure that's as seamless as possible. But yes, effectively, Zapier and any other integration or bespoke API integration will run on site, like locally on your site.
Got it.
Does that help?
Cool. Yeah, it does. Yeah. It sounds to me like it's like compartmentalizing, like, sites, usage, all that. It just gets it increases stability, all that stuff. Yeah. Cool.
This is probably maybe Josh would cringe at this, I don't know, but I see it a little bit like when you use the browser or the client machine to process something instead of your server. Sometimes it makes a lot more sense to use the thousands and thousands of client machines, or sites in this case, rather than all run it through the bottleneck of one server.
Got it.
I had a question.
Cool.
Real quick on the custom API for the sites, which sounds cool. Is there, how seamless will it be to update it if you're using like the old Siteglide API? Is it a setting? Would it be a setting you just flip and change and then it updates the code, or is it a little bit more
It's a very good
complex?
question. I don't know. Do you mean for more bespoke API work that's been done?
Well, I'm just saying, I think Josh built me a one for a client that's pretty detailed that uses, I'm pretty sure it uses a lot of the API functions of Siteglide. And I just wondered if once that client gets the custom API, we have to go through and either change the code manually or
So just to jump in, that would be separate to what Siteglide is doing. So any API endpoints that we've created internally are already on the site and they're not using Siteglide APIs.
Okay.
But there's no need to worry about that at all. Can you mention what project or
Well,
piece
I
of
was just thinking PDH, but you're right, because they're using that stupid iSIMS
Yeah, no, that's an
garbage.
internal API that we're using for that. So yeah,
Right.
unconnected.
Yep. That's kind of what I was mainly thinking about.
Yeah, not a problem.
Cool.
I don't think, yeah, I think a lot of bespoke work is done out of the way Josh has just described, and that's what I was going to
Right.
say. He likely had done, because basically with the power of GraphQL, you can just do everything yourself locally on the site anyway. It's only really if you were, I mean, Zapier uses the Siteglide API because it needed something structured. We needed something very structured to work from, which the Siteglide API was. So we're basically taking the structure of the Siteglide main API and putting that in at a site level for you to leverage rather than Josh or whoever having to always build from scratch. That
But
makes
like
sense.
the automations, that would be automatically updated because those probably use the Siteglide API, right? Any kind of automation.
Yeah, I mean, again,
Responders.
I'm hoping Matt Walter has the answer to this. We haven't quite got to the stage of release, so he probably has all the answers to this, and I don't quite have it. But yeah, we'll make sure that it's as seamless as possible. There will be things like I mentioned for Zapier where unfortunately it can't just happen, but it should be
Right.
as easy as possible to switch over.
Switch over. Okay, cool.
Some might be seamless and you not do anything, but things like Zapier probably will need a switch.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's hopefully sums it up. We'll have a lot more on that very soon. It's very, very close, and it's something we really want to get in front of you guys and get feedback on.
Will the
There's
Zapier that's using the Cycloid API break, or will you proxy those requests to the site?
I think for now we would just leave it as it is and probably give a period of both working and I guess talk about turning it off at some point in the future. But that's not going to be like anytime soon. It'll only be if I think I can probably speak to most agencies individually who I can see use it. We've got some analytics of who use it and discuss timeline for getting switched over.
That makes sense.
But yeah, the old one will just continue to run until it doesn't need to anymore, I think is the answer. Hopefully there'll be some good incentives to switch over. Devon, I know obviously one of the main reasons for us doing it in the first place was occasionally you had those disconnections and retries, and it's not what you want. It's frustrating when you've got to go back and do that. So this should overcome those kind of things.
That happened this weekend too. So yeah, I'll gladly. I mean, there have been other Zapier apps that have like gotten to a stage where there's like a little interface that pops up in Zapier. It's like this is being, you know, I'm blanking on the word, but you know what I mean? Like, yeah, stopped. Like
Yes.
there's a new version of it. Click here,
Yeah.
We'll gladly make the changeover. That's not something you can just stress heavily over.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't want to scare anybody. We're not just going to force it and turn it off, but there's a genuinely good reason to do it. So we'll just help make sure everyone has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Lastly, on that, actually, in terms of potentially using integrations and rollout instead of Zapier or having the option to, I know, Devon, one of the things you said, if I pull up the roadmaps, a good example, was you would want to at least be able to like check, get a log of what's happened and be able to do retries. So this is probably an item worth voting on because this is where you can we plan to at least do logs and the ability to retry anything that failed.
Agreed. I will go look at that one right now.
We know it's not going to be the be-all and end-all solution for Zapier. I mean, things like some of the filtering, Zapier are very good at certain things, but having a little bit more native within Siteglide for some use cases, hopefully, it just means you don't need a Zapier account.
Yeah, like if I was assessing the percentage of like complex Zapier, like we're doing, I don't know, 5 or 6 things, like that's a very small percentage of how we use Zapier. Most of the time it's like tagging someone in MailChimp or adding someone to a Google Sheet or an Airtable. Like it's definitely well doable with the automations feature. We just want some visibility on the failures because the failures really, that log really does help.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Well, it's good to know that. I mean, hopefully being able to do everything all in one UI is just a really nice, clean way of doing it. And yeah, we'll keep improving it until it does everything, hopefully. Everything you'd want it to do. Good. Yes, that's a good example of one to have a look at. Yeah, so you can subscribe to specific posts. I think you automatically subscribed if you've interacted with it, but you can also just subscribe to a post if you want to. Yeah. Stop sharing. Any other questions or ideas, feedback? I'm thinking if there's anything else worth mentioning. I'm sure there was something this morning. No. Okay. Sorry. Go for it, Michael.
I just said nothing here. It looks good.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, well, it's always busy at the start of a year after some time off. But we're really excited about the plans we've got for the year, getting this roadmap right, so we're confident in what we're doing. But there are some bigger things that we'd like to be doing and ways to improve the platform as well. So hopefully it's a positive start to the year for everybody. Happy New Year. And yeah, if there's nothing else, then we'll keep doing these monthly. Sometimes we hadn't always managed to, but I'm going to try and make sure we do, even if it's a fairly short one and not many topics. But
I just
good.
think it's good to connect, even if it's short. I mean,
Exactly.
just kind of keep the communication flowing and all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Just seen a comment from Helen. Thanks, Luke. Great to see. Glad to see task waiting and roadmap planning. Also glad to see 2025 badges on the Siteglide website. Yeah, they're the G2 badges. Thanks for highlighting that. I got them done last week. So yeah, those kind of things, so easy to miss. So thank you. Cool. All right, guys. Well, yeah, really good to catch up. And I'll see you next time.
Okay.
See ya. Thanks.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.